insurance provider, a multinational company, and doing multiple projects, 4 to 5 projects, all based on agile and safe agile methodology. I am a Java full stack developer with experience in both from the front end side, talking about Angular or AngularJS or ReactJS, Node.js, HTML, CSS, Bootstrap. And for the back end, I know like Java 8, Spring Boot, Spring Cloud. We also use Spring like Netflix OSS and Kubernetes integration. If we talk about more about the Java task that we did, is we did a lot of asynchronous calls in the multi-threading, connected with the database such as MongoDB or SQL Server using the Hibernate. And then I also developed the CI/CD pipelines, the release pipelines, build pipelines for our microservices, and did one internal project in which integrated our UI application with the Google Cloud, with the payment PayPal integration and Google with the login integration.
So which company you are working?
With Capgemini.
Location?
Mumbai.
Okay, so how much experience you have with microservice?
Yeah, 4 years of experience.
4 years?
Yes.
Okay. So can you tell me what are the challenges you faced so far?
In microservices or
yeah, like, correct, microservices.
Okay, so one of the problems typically related to the microservices architecture, and there was one thing. So we have a microservice which was dependent upon a source of records, SOR. So it was calling an API to fetch the records from that SOR. Now what was happening, since there was no optimization that was done on the thread pool side, so whenever the SOR was not returning any response, so the threads were stacking up, and they were stacking so much that the memory was too high and the container was unresponsive, and it was dying down. So basically we came to know why this was happening, because like if we do not have any thread pools, so it will use the default implementation of like fork join pool, and it will create max 7 threads if it is an octa-core processor. So after 7 threads, if any request is coming in, that thread would go into the queue, and it will not get executed until and unless the previous 7 threads gets executed. So that stack was growing up. So to fix that problem, we introduced a thread pool, which ultimately solved our problem, because the threads were not stacking up now. Now another problem.
So that's fine. Do you know circuit dependency in microservice?
Right. So yeah, I was coming to that circuit breaker. So what was happening, like our
no, not circuit breaker, circuit dependency. Suppose A depends on B, B depends on C, C depends on D. So when microservices got failed, how we can be handled?
Yes, if any of those services fail, how can we
handle? Correct.
Yes, so we can do for example, the first thing that we can try is retry. If retry also doesn't work, then obviously
actually this is different, right? So I have 1000 microservices there. I want to see the all microservice status. Okay. So how we can retry all 1000 microservices at a time?
Are already up. So like we can use some monitoring tools such as App Dynamics or Grafana to see the status of our microservices, if that you're asking.
App Dynamics, it should be, it's not in same environment, right? Yeah, it is different environment. So my microservice is different.
Right, but so you said like.
Can you tell me how do you handle distributed log tracing?
Distributed
logs tracing.
Right. So we use like Spring Cloud Sleuth. So it will add the trace ID and span ID for an individual request that is going into and we should be having a one unique header parameter, for example, session ID, which can be traced along all the microservices.
So can you tell me what is the sleuth and what is Zipkin?
Right. So Zipkin basically tracks that the same request is going into the individual.
Yeah. Can you tell me the component inside the sleuth?
Like trace ID and span ID.
Okay.
Right. But that trace and span ID would be same within a microservice for that individual request, not within the microservices. So
Okay.
there should be some another parameter which should be common among the microservices, and that zip can track that then. And in our tech stack, like we use basically Splunk. So we introduce one parameter called session ID. We pass it to all the microservices as a header
Okay.
parameter.
So comes under microservice. How many microservices you have created?
Yeah, at max, like right now we have 6 microservices in our application.
Okay, in 6 microservices, my question is how you can communicate the transaction. Suppose A microservices communicate B microservices some read the operation and B. Suppose D is committed the code in A. So how it will happen?
So like the intercommunication happens behind the scenes with the help of Discovery Server and Zool Gateway.
No, this is different, right? So transactions. This is for transactions, not message.
Right. So basically, for the transaction also, like if we want to consume some microservices API, right? So we will need to do a REST call. If that REST call fails, then we can roll back our changes. Like in the microservices A, we committed something. Now we are calling microservices B to commit some another things. We will call
No,
that.
actually, right, the transaction is sequential. One is reading, another one is updating, another one is reading, read, write, read, like, you know. So in this case, how do you handle?
Okay, so there is a chain of microservices, and
Yeah,
the end
correct.
one suppose breaks down.
Yeah, correct.
Right. So there should be some fallback mechanism. So our microservice is made in such a way, even though the last one should fail, we should save our, that the transaction data into some another place, and some another process should fix that problem. Like it would be difficult to roll back all the changes from the microservices one. So there should be a fallback approach for this. It should be kept in mind while designing that. It is not like we just create the microservices and we committed all of them in each of those microservices, and there is no fallback. That doesn't happen like that.
You know, how you can be, suppose the sequence of transaction is happening. So when you can commit, the commit got failed, suddenly some interruption. So how we can roll back the data?
Yeah, so we will communicate with the other microservices that something has failed, and then they would be rolling back that changes again. That is what.
So what is the code? Yeah, how we can be implement? Like,
We will make an API call. We will make an API call. There is no another.
This is completely transactions. How we can be provide the transaction? What is the dependency can be add? How do you perform the code level?
Yeah, so transaction is there, but it is not like it is the same JVM machine, right? It is a microservice. So everything that is being interacted being upon the API calls only. There is no another way. So even if the end of the microservice it fails, we will make an API call and telling the previous microservices that it got failed, and then you need to revert. Another pattern would be the hystrix, for example, the hystrix, but it will just break the circuit if more and more failures.
So can you tell me REST methods? What are the methods you have to pass? REST template methods.
Right. So inside the REST template, we will pass the URL, we will pass the body, the HTTP method type, the headers, any authorization headers.
Can you tell me get for entity, get for object methods? What is the difference? Get for entity, get for object.
Get for entity, get for object.
Yeah.
So like get for entity, we would need to provide the response output as a last parameter, but the get for object would return the object, and I think that what is the difference.
Okay. So how do you handle scale up, scale down the microservice?
Okay, so like especially we use the Kubernetes, like for the auto scaling. The Docker Swarm does not provide that auto scalability out of the box, but definitely if we know a pattern, for example, that the users are coming in at 7 to 8, so more users are coming in. So basically we can predefine the max number of replicas on our microservices that should be there. For example, 10 microservices and 10 replicas for each of the microservices, and then it would be able to handle the load. If we want to have the auto scalability or the horizontal or vertical scalability, then Docker Swarm is not the correct approach, and like Kubernetes is one of the containerization tool, like where the orchestration tool where we can use this feature.
Okay. You worked on messaging?
Sorry,
Have you worked on messaging?
messaging,
Yeah.
not explicitly, like another team uses it, like Rabbit.
So Kafka.
Kafka, like I only did a dummy project 2 years back. So
Yeah. So how good are you in core Java out of 5?
out of 5,
Yeah.
3.5 to 4.
In which version?
Java 8.
So can you share your screen and write this program?
Okay, sure.
Mm. So this is the array.
Okay.
Output should be 11, 12, 13.
Sorry, your voice is breaking.
This is the
So
output.
okay, so we have a list. Integer array is equal to. So we have this. Okay. Now what we want to do, we want to strip out the zeros. Okay. So what we can do, we can convert into string and strip out the zero. Now we will do a map integer to string. Now, okay, and now what we want to do, now we want to strip out the zeros. Okay, so replace all. Okay. With blank dot map. And here the integer dot value of I. Right. Yes, Suresh, it is completed.
Now you can find the maximum number in the array.
Sorry.
Also, you can find the maximum number in the array.
Okay, so second task is to find the maximum number.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so we will just do the string. We will do max, and it would be function dot identity. Java utility that function. Comparator. Shouldn't have that. And this should work. So yes, so maximum can be this.
Hello.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Suresh.
So you can reverse the array. This is third one. Same array you can print in reverse order.
In the reverse order.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So dot question dot right, sorted. So we can do reverse order. Dot collect. Right, so this is the reversed sorted array.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, you can start sharing.
So sorry.
Yeah, you can stop sharing.
Okay. Okay, okay.
So what is the difference between connection and streams?
Between the collection and streams.
Yeah.
Okay, so stream acts upon a collection. So basically it is not a data type. However, collection is a data type. So stream itself cannot contain any data. It can operate upon the data. So in the stream, it will act upon the collection, and we can, inside the stream, it can do the operations on each individual object that it will receive from the stream. So it will have then like the intermediate operations in which we can do a mapping, convert into a different format. We can do some validation, filtering it out. We can do some sorting like we did, and then we can collect it. So stream operates upon the data. It's not a data in itself. However, the collection is a data type. So we store the data inside the collections.
Okay, what is a parallel stream and sequential stream?
Right. So inside the sequential stream, each of those data that is inside the stream, it will process sequentially, while in the parallel stream, all of those data would be like different threads would be created, and that operation would be performed parallelly.
Mm-hmm. So Java is what kind of operation?
Sorry?
Java is what kind of operation? Sequential or parallel?
Java is a sequential by default. We can do asynchronous stuff.
Okay, I want to make a parallel. How we can do it?
Right. So we need to create. So the use case is different. For example, if we want to speed up our API, so we are calling, for example, multiple APIs, and each of those APIs, for example, are independent and can be run on its own. So we can introduce new threads and run them along together. So it will operate parallelly. So our performance will increase. So it is not like parallel is better or sequential is better. It is the use case we want to achieve. So by default, the Java is sequential one, but we can do the asynchronous operations based on our requirements using the threads.
Okay. Okay. So what is a predicate? What is consumer? What is supplier?
Right. So all of these are the types of functional interfaces which are default provided within the like Java. So predicate is like we will pass in some value and it will return the Boolean, whether it is true or false. Or inside the consumer, as the name suggests, it will consume something. So we will pass the values to the consumer and it will just consume, it will not return anything. But inside the supplier, we will not pass anything, but it would return us back. So those are the types of functional interfaces implementations.
So what are the methods? Like which method is there in predicate? Which method is there in supplier? So internally calling, right? Which method is there in supplier?
Apply?
Yeah. Apply.
I believe yes.
Okay. Consumer?
I believe for all of them it would be apply.
How come? So then our consumer is different, the supplier is different, right? How we can apply the same method to all? Does it make sense?
Right.
Consumer
so because the implementation can be different.
Yeah, but you know the difference, right? Consumer is consume, supplier means it's supply. Same method, how we can apply to all together?
Yeah, so because the functional interface, it will talk about an apply method and the implementation can be different. So for predicate, it would return. For consumer, it will not.
Can you write the syntax for predicate in chat box? How we can apply the predicate?
So this can be predicate.
Okay, so what is that?
Sorry?
So what it does? The predicate means what it means.
That it will return a Boolean value.
So internally it should be work, right? Certain, you know how it should work internally. So Boolean is different, right? You can, if you're using the Boolean function, how it is Boolean?
Sorry, Suresh, your voice is breaking.
Yeah, how internally working the Boolean. So you know ternary operator. Can you write the ternary operator?
Yes.
Okay, what it does?
So this is a ternary operator that is provided by the Java language itself.
Okay, how we can we apply the same methodology to ternary or to?
Ready?
Yeah, correct.
Right. So it would be like
Okay, no problem. So you can explore in this area. So you are
yeah.
not
So I'm
strong in
yeah
that.
I am typing yes. So we can do it like this. It doesn't matter, right? Because in the end, we can perform any operation that we want. The implementation can be anything.
But implementation can follow the sequence, right? So ternary, without ternary operator, we can't be using this predicate. So it is perform the operation, then it will be return certain value. Okay.
Sorry, Suresh, your voice is not clearly audible.
Okay, no problem. So what is the map and flat map?
Mat and flap map.
Yeah.
So map will it can convert the data from one format to another format based on the requirement. However, the flat map internally, if every data itself is a collection, so it can be converted into a stream, and it will it will extract those individual data inside the stream in the upcoming stream. So it will do that flat map. So stream inside the stream, it can pull out all the internal data.
Okay. So what is the callable interface and runnable interface?
Right. So callable interface returns a future. However, runnable interface does not return anything. Runnable has runnable has a run method. So it is a void method. We cannot return anything. However, inside the callable, it will return a future. So if from the future, we can get the value whenever it will execute, it will return us a value, then future dot get, then we will get the value. So we have call method inside the callable.
No. So what is major difference?
Yeah, so this is the major difference. Like runnable cannot return us anything. So if you want to do any operations which the output we do not need, we just need to, for example, log it. So we can use the runnable over there. But if we want to process something and we are expecting to have some output and we need it, then we will use callable.
Okay, what is executor service executor?
Right. So executor service help us to perform parallel operations. So we can divide our job in multiple tasks, so that executor can run each of those tasks parallelly. So like with the help of executor, we can also have the thread pooling initialized. So we do not need to have it manually created and manually create all of those tasks and run them. So basically executor service, we can shut down the whole operation. We can wait for all of the tasks to be get completed and then get them. It provide all of those functionality.
So how is internally work executor service executors?
Yeah, internally also it will create the parallel threads and it will execute them.
Okay, what is the completable feature in Java?
Right. So future, like completable future is an extension over the future. So completable future, we can chain them. For example, completable feature will give us dot then method dot catch method. So we can do our exception handling or post processing easily with completable feature. However, the problem with the future is that we cannot chain it. So if any exception comes, we need to handle it in a different way.
So what is the method inside the completable feature?
Okay, so the method that the lambda invokes.
Lambda?
Right, like each callable can be represented by a lambda.
No. So it has certain methods, right? So it means runnable interface, what method is there?
So runnable has run method, callable has call method.
Yeah, same like completable feature, which method is called?
Completable feature, like completable feature is the return thing.
Yeah.
Callable is the input, right? So
Correct.
callable can return a completable feature as well.
So what is the purpose using completable feature?
Yeah, so that is what, like it, we can chain them together like dot then dot catch, so that exception handling is good. In future we do not have like we can wait upon the tasks to be completed inside a completable feature and then do the post processing like after dot then. But inside of the future there is no such concept, like we need to handle it the exceptions manually, and it would be a normal code flow for the future, like we will do a dot get and then we will proceed with the synchronous operation, right? But inside the completable future we can do a dot operation dot then, and we can there also extend that functionality of callables inside, like post processing also we can do.
Okay, what is fixed thread pool? What is cached thread pool?
Fixed thread pool and cached thread pool.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so the fixed thread pool will create the fixed number of threads. Okay, and it will create a new thread whenever the requirement comes in.
Okay.
But however, the cached pool.
How do you define fixed thread pool, cached thread? Can you write the syntax?
Yes, so executors dot new fixed thread pool of 10, for example. Similarly, executors dot new cached pool. So that this new cached pool, it will return as the same thread which is not currently being used. However, inside the new fixed thread pool, it will create a new thread and it will the operation would be performed
Yeah,
on.
see, in fixed thread pool, only 10, right? Out of 10, now only 5 is active running. Remaining 95, suppose I have 100 thread pool size is there. Only 5 is active. Remaining 95 threads are what and how it will work.
Yeah, Suresh, your voice is not
Yeah,
audible.
see, I have 100 thread pool size. Threads is there. In fixed thread pool, only 5 is active or running. Remaining 95 is idle. So on idle thread, where it will be stored and how it will work.
Okay, how they will be stored and
Yeah, correct. So same thing you are saying, right? New fixed thread pool. So no, all threads is not execute simultaneously, right? So suppose one is executing, another 9 will be waiting. How it will be execute in the manner, the tasks.
right. So if they are not executing anything, I think in the fixed thread pool it will still be an active. However, in the cached pool it will go and wait.
So where it will be wait? Can you tell me how many states is there in thread?
Yeah, so like there is an inbuilt function which gives us the metrics of the threads, like how many are there active, maximum number of threads that were created, how many of them are in queue. There is a matrix inside this thread pool executors.
Okay. Okay. So what are the metrics?
Right, so the matrix is like the active thread, okay, and the max threads, pool size, and queue size. I think these are the parameters. So maximum threads means like how many at max were created. Active thread means at this time how many threads are active. Pool size, that is we define it, and the queue size is like how many are in the waiting state in the queue?
So can you tell me what are the methods in completable feature? Hello.
Inside the completable feature.
Oh, yeah, correct. So can you write one program or even an odd number using completable feature?
Yeah, I can use like Eclipse.
Yeah, just you can yeah, so just you can show the how it will work in completable.
Sorry, Suresh.
Yeah, you can show in Eclipse. We have right ID.
Okay. Oh, I'm not recollecting it.
Yeah, no problem. You can start sharing.
Okay.
Okay. Do you know optional how it will work internally in Java?
Internally, I do not know, but yes, it is used for the null safe operation. So internally, it is just a wrapper above a class, any class. It
Okay.
can be a wrapper above it. So internally, it might be just using the if else logic only. I do
Okay.
not see any other reason to have another implementation.
Okay. What is the function? What is the meta space?
What is the metaspace and perm
Function. Yeah.
permgen? Okay. So
Correct.
before the Java 8, there was a section of a memory where the metadata of the class were defined. So the declaration type of data for the class. However, there was a problem that it cannot be expanded. So after the Java 8, they removed this whole permgen space, and instead they whatever data that was stored in the permgen, now it was stored into the meta space, which is like inside the native memory only. So it speeded up
So
the
how it will work the JVM? So you are telling it is automatic, right? Something. So how it will be work? How it is expand Java?
Right. So using the like JVM arguments, we can expand those.
If using the functions, JVM argument required, right? If using metaspace, do you need arguments from Zen, like argument to need to extend?
If we want to extend it, yes. Like, no. If it is a metaspace, it can automatically. Okay.
Yeah. Then why you can using JVM parameters?
So like the minimum and maximum that we can do, that parameters we can define.
Why is required? Metaspace will be do, right? Auto expanding the memory. Okay.
Yeah, I do not
So
know.
okay. So how much experience you have?
4 years.
4 years. Okay. Spring Boot. How do you read externally property files using Spring Boot?
How do you read a property file?
Yeah. Yes.
@ value, like @ value, and we can define the.
Yeah, this is not in same location. It is another location. External property file.
Okay, so yeah, @ properties. Okay, and then we can define the path, like class path, hyphen or not hyphen colon.
Is in
@
other
properties
project,
file.
not in the same resource. It is other project.
It's in the another project, but it should
Yeah.
be available. It should be available as in the class path, right? And if it is not a class path, like we will do some API calls, so we'll get back that JSON, and then we can inject it in our application context. Or like we can also go using the class loader. Using the class loader, we can fetch that file if it is in another
So
location.
how do you start actuators and how do you stop the actuators?
So like the actuators are by default disabled.
Correct.
And
but I want to stop and start. Like how do you can do in the target?
So we will be enabling those endpoints of the actuator into our application YAML file. For example, /info /health.
Yeah, that will come automatic. I want to start and stop
Manually.
Yeah.
From the code.
Correct.
Oh, I do not know.
Okay.
From the configuration.
Okay. Yeah, I want to exclude the Tomcat. How we can do?
Sorry?
I want to include the Java server in Spring Boot. How we can do that?
Sorry, I'm not able to hear you, Suresh.
Yeah, I want to using Java server in Spring Boot application.
Oh, okay. So what we will do, we will exclude the dependency of Spring Boot Tomcat. And so the Tomcat will not be there, and then we can define the dependency of the JBoss server. So
yeah, so I have using both Tomcat and JBoss together. Some application will Tomcat, some will run in JBoss. How we can do that?
You mean like we should be able to run our Spring application on both the servers?
Same server.
On the same.
Yeah, correct. On the same Spring Boot.
The Spring Boot app. So the Spring Boot application can only be started either on the like Tomcat or the.
No. If you using multi-part application, the resource should be different, right? Two database also you can connect. Same way I have using two different servers.
But the context would be different, like how the Spring Boot application would start on both the servers.
So how we can be using both the servers in same Spring Boot application?
So in that way, like no, like by default it will run only on one single server. If you want to.
My question is two servers.
So like in the Docker file, we can say that our containers contains two servers. One is Tomcat, one is JBoss. So run our Spring Boot on. So it would be a standalone server. So no Spring Boot application would not be running in that.
Do you have any front-end experience like React?
Yes, I do have, yes.
Which one?
React.
React. What is ES5 and ES6?
Sorry, what is?
ES5 and ES6.
ES5 and ES6. So yeah, so like all of the browsers understand the ES5. ES6 is a new extension with the ES5 where they added a lot of features. like the class, the filter, let const, and map reduce. So they added more kind of these functionalities into the ES6.
Okay.
So like structuring, destructuring, okay, and then we have structuring, destructuring, and then we have arrow operators, then we have spread operators, rest operators. So all of these were added in ES6.
So what is JS6? Redux also, you know?
Sorry?
Redux.
Redux, I do not know. We do not use Redux.
Okay.
The JSX, since you asked, like it is a it is a way using which we can return the HTML looking syntax from our function, and the React will catch that and it will convert into the native classes and functions.
Yeah, I'll conclude my interview.